Welcome back, everybody. It's Tom Cassidy here. I've got Mick Hartley, the psychotherapist, the man behind Transforming Anger in a Deep and Natural Way. And Mick's 13 by 4 is a culmination of years and years of the practice of psychotherapy, of being with people, of sitting on the proverbial couch with them, or, well, them being on the couch. I don't know exactly how it works. I've luckily enough, not had to use a psychotherapist just yet. So Mick, tell us a little bit about your story, a little bit about your background, and what's got you to think of putting this program together in the first place.
Well, I've got quite a history of working with people. Started my career when I was 18, working in a psychiatric unit with children. And I worked there for about 4 years and then did training as a psychiatric nurse.
Right.
And then became, well, when I left there and finished my course, I decided to train as a clinical psychologist, and with the idea of working with children. So I applied for a psychology degree, which I was accepted on, and through a lot of the things I learnt there, I changed my viewpoint and got more involved in psychotherapy. And since then, since about early 90s, I've been working as a psychotherapist.
Wow.
Yeah, in my own private practice, and really throughout this, just mainly done clinical work. That's been the important thing for me, is
Right.
working with people and, yeah, hopefully helping them make the changes that they want to in life.
And how do these people find out about you? How do they know to come and see you and get help?
Well, some people come through connections with previous clients, but a lot of that comes through my advertising.
Yep.
I've got a very effective website that people like. There's quite a lot of information on it, and they feel like in some ways they've got to know me before they've arrived in many ways, because there's a lot of information about me on it. So, you know, the personal aspect of things has always been very important to me, and I do express quite a lot of that through that medium. Yeah, so that's mainly how people do through searching the internet. It's a very useful tool for people in private practice nowadays.
And what's led you to think of making something more available to more people, i.e. doing something like an online program? Well, what's got you thinking in that direction?
Well, one of the difficulties with working one-to-one is actually the reach that you have is very limited. There's a limited amount of time I can give away each week to working with individuals. And some people need to do deep psychological work to deal with the problems, but some people don't. And actually often having a perspective that they can work through and refer to can be very useful in helping people gain the insight and make the changes they need to, if that information is good and there's obviously support as well with that. But a lot of people, to change their difficulties, they don't need deep psychological work, and this program lends itself to that in that it can open a lot of insight and a lot of awareness and create change through helping people think about their difficulties in a very different way.
Oh, there's a client there calling.
Yeah.
They'll probably say, hurry up with your online program, Mick, because you're too busy. Okay, so really you're thinking is, well, one thing is reach, and the other thing is that perhaps there's some things that they can more or less work through on their own or with some guidance, and they don't perhaps need the depth. So who would be interested in this program? What sort of person would really benefit in your experience of dealing with people for over 20 years in the field? What sort of person would benefit from this program?
Well, I think these people who can get stuck in difficulties in their relationships. I think there are people who maybe find their work situation quite difficult to be in because they're starting to feel annoyed with a lot of the processes and things that are happening at work. So it's anybody who's bringing anger to their everyday life in many
Right.
ways. You know, the thing about anger is often there's a level of blame that goes on around that person, and the shift of responsibility onto the other, and over time that can become more and more ingrained. So for people to be able to come to a program like this in the early stages of finding difficulties, then it's much easier to help affect change in them before they get too ingrained in that. You know, it's the people who are more ingrained that generally need deeper psychological work.
So, in summary, this is for people who are certainly reasonably aware that they've got some sort of issue with anger, or they at least find themselves being angry a lot more often than they would want to be, but they're not destroying their life necessarily at the moment, and they don't need to sit down and have hours and hours of one-to-one therapy. But they think that, you know, if they could deal with this now, if they could turn the tap off now, then it'd save them having to mop the floor later, right?
Yeah, and I think for many people this may be a very good starting point, so that they go through a program like this, and you know, and hopefully they'd find the effective change, which most people I think would. If people find that this is not powerful enough for them, that suggests that their anger is much more deep-rooted. So in psychological terms, much more based on their early historical experience. And I think then someone would need, you know, much more in-depth help. But I think that for the general public, this is a really useful program for people to address things that they're finding very difficult to cope with.
Fantastic. Well, Mick, thanks very much for your time. I'm delighted with the fact that we're doing this program together, because certainly all of us are a little angrier a little more often than we would like to be, you know, whether it's because the kids aren't going to bed on time, or it's, you know, you're stuck in traffic and all those sorts of things. And I think anything that you can do to encourage these 4 domains of awareness, action, attitude, and appreciation, you know, in general, to wake people up, really, to awaken them to what's going on, is going to be helpful. So thanks very much for putting the program together. Thanks for your time today. And I'm looking forward very much to getting into the depth of these individual characteristics that we're trying to develop in people as we go through this program. So thanks for your time tonight, and see you in the next one.
Okay, Tom, thank you.